Now you might recall that in the first course section, I mentioned that Go has this focus on simplicity, clarity, and scalability. And that's indeed the case. But this code here is actually not as simple as it could be, because Go indeed offers a couple of features which allow you to write more concise code, of which we can use one here in this program to make the code a bit more concise at least. Because at the moment in this code, I'm declaring all my variables here with the var keyword. And in general, that is indeed how you can declare, so how you can introduce, you could say, a variable in a program. But if you have a variable assignment like this, where you don't set an explicit type, as we do it here, where we do set an explicit type, if we don't do that, like here, we can actually omit that var keyword and use a special assignment operator, so that instead of that equal sign, we use colon equal sign. And this is basically a shortcut offered by Go, which you should use as often as possible, that's the convention and the recommendation, to declare and assign a variable where the type should be inferred by Go. So you can't add a type assignment here then. This would give you an error. But if you don't need one because you're happy with the inferred type, which in this case is float64, that's the recommended shorter way of assigning a variable. And we can also use this approach down here. We don't need to explicitly set a type for a future value, therefore we can also use the shortcut here. Now, one other variable related thing you can do in Go is that you can declare and also define multiple variables in the same line. For example here, where investment amount and years have the same type, I could add a comma after investment amount and add years here, and then add a comma after 1000 and specify the value for years here, and then get rid of that variable down there. So now here, 1000 would be used as a value for investment amount, and 10 would be used as a value for years. You can also omit the type assignment. In that case, it would be inferred again. And you could then also specify multiple values of different types in the same line. And Go would now infer that investment amount is of type int, whereas years is of type string. If you do explicitly assign a type though, all variables in that line must be of that type because the type comes last. You can't add multiple type assignments one after each variable. This is not allowed, this is. But now of course we must also assign proper values of that type. We could of course now also shorten this even further here and get rid of that type assignment and of var if we want to use this shortcut here, which also works with multiple values in one line, in which case we just have to make sure though that these values are inferred as floats, which we can enforce by adding a decimal place. So we can of course simply add .0 here, and with that Go will infer that these values will be of type float64. And we could have done that before with that longer syntax as well, of course. But now this allows us to use the shorter syntax, and therefore now we can of course also move this variable into this line and also initialize it there, separated by a comma. So now all variables are declared and defined in one single line. But I will also say that it's up to you whether you want to use this super short notation here or not. I personally find that it can make programs a bit harder to understand, since I now have to take a closer look to find out which value refers to which variable. Therefore, I personally prefer to split this up across multiple lines, like this. And I'll also bring back that type annotation here, which means we can't use this short assignment operator anymore and instead have to use var, just so that we also see this syntax here for comparison again. Ultimately, it is of course up to you which approach and style you prefer. I just want to show you these options so that you are able to write short and concise Go code.